with the acting U.S. Attorney to specifically request federal action be taken with respect to the proliferation of guns. Guns are coming into our community from somewhere, and we need all of law enforcement to come together to determine how these guns are getting here, how they are getting distributed, and how we can stop the supply of guns. For the guns that are already here, we are going to be working with law enforcement and those at the state and federal level and people from the community. We need to listen to the community about how to get the guns that are here off the streets. We know that in and of themselves, gun buyback programs are not particularly effective, but we believe that if we work with the community to determine how to get these guns off the street, that there are no bad ideas, that we're going to work with the community to determine ways that we can seek to get these guns out of the hands of people who are using them in very violent and, from our perspective, senseless ways. The homicides that we have seen, that have now taken the lives of 3 unintended victims, 3 people who were not targets of the violence, demonstrates how brazen and the complete disregard for human life that is being shown by those who are choosing to use these guns. This is a type of violence that I think it's upsetting to the community, it's unsettling to the community, and the chief is going to talk about the law enforcement actions that are going to be taken and that you're going to see. I do want to commend the Albany Police Department. We have made a number of swift arrests with respect to shootings in the city. We have also taken guns, many guns, from individuals. Our police officers, just this weekend, we heard about the shootings and the homicides, but there were also guns that were taken very swiftly by our police officers that prevented people from being shot. And so I want to commend our police department for the hard work that they are doing, but we have to come together as a community and get these guns off of our streets. With that, I'm going to turn it over to the chief.
All right, thank you, Mayor. And we've had another very unfortunate incident, in this one involving another teenage girl last night. With that incident, first of all, I want to extend our condolences to the family of Destiny. Very tragic incident. It's one that hurts the hearts of the people in this community, something that touches the police department, and we remained resolved in getting to the bottom of all of these incidents that we're seeing in our community. But last night there was a situation where there was a social media meet in that area of Wilbur Street, and Destiny was with 3 other people. She was with 2 other adults and another juvenile. And during that meet, there was some sort of confrontation between Destiny's group and 2 or 3 young men. And shots were fired. The vehicle that Destiny was in drove away, and she was taken to Memorial Hospital, where she was later where she later died. And so this is something, we've been saying this over and over again, and the message remains the same, that these sorts of incidents would not be tolerated. These sorts of incidents are just unconscionable, and we're bringing out all of our resources in order to address these sorts of issues. And so we're going to, and before I get into some of the things that we're doing, I think it's important, like the mayor mentioned, to talk about the arrest that we've made in a lot of these incidents over the last 2 weeks or so. And we have at least 2 or 3 individuals who are in custody for some of these homicides, and we've made some significant progress in identifying others who are involved in not just those homicides, but in some of the others that we've seen. So I think we're in a very, very good place. But taking those people into custody don't bring these lives back. And so it's important that we do what we can to stop the violence so that we don't have these innocent, unintended victims as homicide victims in our city. And I had conversations over last night and this morning with Sheriff Apple and with Major West from the State Police. And we've continued the conversations that we've had over the last 2 or 3 weeks. And we will have a significant increase in police presence, police and sheriff and deputy and trooper presence in our city. Troopers and deputies will be working very closely with our officers. They'll be working very closely with our detectives. And we'll be very proactive in identifying individuals who may be committing violence in our city. And so really, this approach is two-pronged. We have to first identify those individuals who are involved in this violence. And my detectives are doing a great job of doing that. When we're finding out who these individuals are, we're bringing those individuals into custody and we're charging these individuals with these crimes. And we're bringing closure for some of these families that have been victimized. The other piece of this is making sure that we continue working very, very closely with our community because as the mayor and other elected officials have very clearly stated, this is more than, this is something that the police cannot solve alone. We need the help of the members of this community. We need the members of this community to let us know where these guns are. We need members of the community to let us know if they have information about suspects who are involved in these heinous crimes that we're seeing in our community. We need our community's help in diverting some of these young men and young women who may be on the fence, diverting some of those young men and women to productive activities in our community, giving these young men and women hope. Because when you have a 18, 19, or 21-year-old who decides to use a weapon to resolve a conflict, who decides that it's better to kill another person instead of peacefully and non-violently talking out this conflict, then we have a young man or a young woman who doesn't have any hope. So we've got to, as a community, give these young people who may be on the fence hope. Give them the resources that they need to navigate through these very, very difficult times that young men and young women are going through. And what we're seeing is that some of these young men and young women are having a very difficult time navigating through these challenging times, and they're resorting to very violent and unproductive ways of dealing with some of these challenges. So we'll be doing both because it's important. I've heard the cries from the community that they want more from the police. And I've got a couple answers for that. First, the police have been doing quite a bit. We've taken over 40 guns off the street this year so far, ahead of the pace from last year. We're identifying these individuals who are involved in these crimes, and we're arresting these people, and we're bringing them to justice. And we're there. We're in these neighborhoods. When these violent incidents are occurring, I'm looking very closely at the response times of my officers. And what I'm seeing consistently is that these officers, they're either right there when these crimes are occurring, hearing the shots or hearing the calls for help and immediately responding and taking people into custody, or they're responding within a minute or two. So these officers are in our neighborhoods and they're working very, very hard. And so my first answer is we're doing a lot. There's some things that we can do more, and we will do more, but a lot is being done. But the second part of this is we've got to make sure that as a police department, when we're addressing these issues that have social undercurrents, these issues that are driven by social factors, it's very important that we understand that we can't do this alone, that we understand that we can't overreach, that we can't cause any harm ourselves or any trauma ourselves to this community. And that's what we're doing. We figured out this balance of taking people off this street, having increased police presence, sending messages to these people who are committing these heinous acts in our community, but doing it in a way that does not cause any further harm to our community. And so we look forward, as we move forward this summer, of working with our law enforcement partners. I'd like to thank our representatives in the state police. I've been dealing very closely with Major Chris West. I want to thank Sheriff Craig Apple for stepping up and hearing our calls for more assistance and more help, and to help us to get some additional police presence in our neighborhoods. And we will continue to make progress. We will continue to show this community that this police department is working very, very closely with all stakeholders to resolve these issues, these very, very challenging issues that we're seeing in our community. Thank you.
Chief, can you talk a little bit more about what Destiny was doing in that area at the time? I understand you talked about the meetup. Can you talk about that, and then perhaps some of the dangers that could come along sometimes with that, and what you want to suggest to people if they are doing something like that?
And right now, we don't know exactly why Destiny and the group that she was with was in that area. We know that it had something to do with some social media meeting that had been arranged. We don't know who arranged it. We don't know who the parties are. But somehow they arrived in that area. It's a little bit after 9 o'clock. And so I think the message, and this is just not in the city of Albany. This is any place. I think it's very, very important that people are aware of their surroundings, that they're very cautious when making and arranging meetings over social media with people that they don't know. And if they have a need to have these sorts of meetings, we see it a lot where there's this marketplace on social media, on Facebook or wherever it may be, and a lot of it is legitimate, where you're meeting someone to have an exchange of goods. It's important that if you do that, to do it at a time and at a place that's safe and that maximizes a person not having conflicts or not having any types of issues. And so what I would recommend in situations like that is to have a meeting in a public place. We've offered our police station parking lots for these sorts of meetings. It could be a gas station parking lot. It could be a shopping center parking lot, a place that's populated, that has people, that has witnesses, that's well lighted. Go at a time when it's, a person is not at risk, and just as importantly, let someone else know where you are. Let them know exactly what the nature of the meeting was, where it is, what time it is, and if you have any information about the people that you're going to meet. Because in situations like this, where the information is very sketchy from last night, now we have to backtrack and try to figure out and unravel some of these questions so that we can get our investigation going. And right now, it's taking us some time to figure those things out.
No arrest yet?
No, not in that case, no arrest.
You have people in custody?
Pardon me?
You have any persons in custody or anything like that?
We have some leads that we think can be very beneficial for us as we proceed in this investigation.
Chief, how do you reconcile through your work? On one hand, you have a segment of the community says fund the police. On the other hand, you have a segment of the community who wants more police, desirous of stronger law enforcement. How do you kind of reconcile those two things as you're moving forward with this very tumultuous time?
And certainly in law enforcement over this past year and a half, we've heard loud and clear from that segment of our society who has this perspective that there should be some reallocation of police funding, and in some cases there are people who feel that police should be defunded totally. So we've heard the perspective. I and most law enforcement officials don't agree with it, but we understand it. But in the city of Albany, what I consistently hear from people in our neighborhoods is that they want more police. They want more traffic enforcement. They want to see more presence in the neighborhoods. They want to see the police even be more proactive in their neighborhoods. But at the same time, they tell us that they want to feel respected by the police. And so for me, that balance is making sure that we give the people in Albany what they want, and that is this increased presence, but also making sure that we do it in a way where the people in this community know that they're respected by the police, know that they're valued, and they know that the police department is transparent and open about activities in the neighborhood and about holding ourselves accountable if something is not done right.
Can I speak to that? Sure. You know, I'd just like to say that what we hear, what I hear from our residents is exactly what the chief said. They want to see more police presence, and they want to ensure that that police presence is not an occupying force, that we have officers who recognize that they are protecting and serving the residents of our city. And that's something that, you know, we are able to address. And it's really important to stress the fact that, you know, first of all, we do have challenges with resource. You know, we are down officers. You know, the sheriff is down, you know, as well. You know, there's a strain in law enforcement across this country. And we also are training and have trained all of our officers to be community police officers. And so we have had great conversations with residents of the community who want to engage with our officers, not just have that car sitting in front of First and Quail, but having the officers get out of the vehicle, talk to residents, and have those engagements. And so I think that's a really positive thing that has come out of the conversations that we've had with the community of what do we mean when we say we want fewer police. What we've been able to determine in our conversations with the communities that have been most impacted by gun violence is that what they really mean is that they want to know the police. They don't want fewer police, but they want to know the police. And so we're working on that. But the other thing that we have to respond to is that people want services as well. And our police officers are not trained to deliver social services. That's not what the police officer's function is. So in addition to providing public safety, we have to work on addressing the demand that we're hearing for better connecting our residents to the social services that they need and that are available to them and that should be available to them. So that's something that we're working on in the administration. That's not the police department's job, right? The police department has a lot on their plate. That's not their job. That is the job of the community coming together. That is part of the Reform Collaborative. It's part of the anti-violence work that we're doing. It's part of the outreach that we're doing with our community-based organizations and our social service providers. And so we have to have this conversation in a holistic way. And I know that you know, but I don't want to drown out the message that we're delivering today. And we're short on time because we have a GVI meeting immediately after this. The message today is that the police are here. Law enforcement is here. If you have a gun and you use it in our city, we will find you and we will arrest you and we will ask the district attorney to put you in jail for a very long time. The gun violence has to stop.
Chief, I think you mentioned that Destiny was with other people, and I think you alluded to the fact that there may have been more than one person with the shooter. Was there more than one shooter? Did these parties know each other? Did they get a good description of who the shooters were?
Still trying to unravel that because, again, this is one of those cases where there was not a lot, they didn't tell a lot of people where they were going and the nature of the meeting that they were having. And so we're trying to backtrack to find that out. And so we know that Destiny was with 3 other people, and we know that there was 1, maybe 2 people that they met with. At least one of those people fired shots from a weapon at the car. We're not sure yet if the other person did.
Is that shooting on Wilbur Street connected to the one at Lexington and Clinton, or is it connected to any other shootings in the last 5 days?
They're all unrelated, all unconnected.
We have time for one more.
How soon will these other state agencies begin to help, and what's that going to look like? Because a lot of the time, community members say, why are more police coming into the community? What are they going to do?
Yes, so today they'll be in our city working with our officers. We'll have deputies and state troopers working with our officers. And so it'll look a couple of different ways. In some cases, they'll be riding in the cars with our officers. just to give us more presence at the individual scenes. In other cases, they may be riding solo in their own vehicles, either their state police vehicles or their sheriff's department vehicles. And in other cases, they may be working with our detectives. So right now, we're working out exactly how this is going to look and exactly where our needs are going to be, because things are shifting. What we're seeing is that our needs are changing on a daily basis. And one good thing about this partnership is that it's very flexible, and it gives us a lot of versatility in how we can address a lot of the things that we're seeing.
Chief, you said they're all unconnected. Did you say that?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, everyone.